I want to see them continue to push it even further. They've been performing very, very well. They're at the top. They're #1. They're going to continue to be #1. They just came off of a win. Like,
you heard it here. Can I continue to be #1? The script is written.
I appreciate your attempt to throw some drama into E United, but I don't think they need any help.
Look,
they're doing
I've
fine.
had 2 phases of trying to figure out ways to make drama with Tempo Storm winning everything. Let me have a moment with E United, please.
Hey, Tempo Storm are making it dramatic for you right now.
That is true. Thank you so much, Tempo Storm. Good guys, Tempo Storm out there. All right, circle's up. It's Sanhok. You can get wherever you really want to go on Sanhok with circle with a flame path like this. Wouldn't be surprised if we see too much change up.
Yeah,
Looks like E United has decided that that's that one spot that the game always ends on, so let's just go there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar situation for Sonics. It's not just the mountaintop. It's the bridge control with the water cutting down in the middle. Obviously, if the circle goes towards the east, it's easier to kind of command your rotations. But if it goes to either of the West Islands, having control over the water can net you a lot of ability to not only transition yourself, but punish other teams trying to transition.
We were kind of talking a little bit about PGC that's coming up and the way that the point system works. And we've got a couple of teams that are feeling very comfortable with it. But with the slots that are available, now we're starting to get a new storyline. We were talking about Sonics. This is their only phase, so they have to show up big. But E United and Lazarus both really want to net some points off of it, and they're having some good games.
Ooh, this is a good first circle, though, for Lazarus especially, but especially Envy. And this is a team that we've seen try and climb up that leaderboard, climb up that ladder. But yes, back onto your point, Lazarus and it was E United, you said?
Lazarus and E United, both they netted a lot of points here. It's going to be big for them.
I don't exactly, they're not in super comfortable positions. Really, the only 2 teams that are in comfortable positions are, of course, going to be Genesis and Tempo Storm. Everyone else, they haven't been super consistent with their placements the first couple of phases. Obviously, shooting for #1 and #2 is really going to be the goal. Especially
with some of these teams, I feel that's the only way.
With Sonics, that's basically the only way, but especially
with 100% the only way for Sonics.
Especially with Genesis and Tempo Storm, if those aren't the 2 teams that hit those top 2 spots, because they're going to soak up, they've already soaked up so many points themselves, that's going to make that 5th slot so much more important.
It's really interesting. We talk about like point eaters as we talk about tournaments and the way phases work, and these guys that just net a whole bunch of points and kind of tear away points from everybody else. That makes the competition a lot harder, so every point becomes much more valuable. Whenever we start looking at it for the PGC system, it's kind of interesting that we're seeing a similar parallel inside of that.
What do you mean?
Like with Genesis and the way that they've just been eating points every single phase. Tempo Storm, that's making that every single point outside of those 2 teams has a huge upswing.
I think it's at the point that it is mathematically impossible for either Genesis or Tempo Storm to not be top 3 in points unless they are in relegation zone, of which their points are just stripped. But outside of that situation, they could be 9th place and still go to PGC.
Here we are with Genesis at boot camp. Who would have thought? Right in the middle of the circle. This is just
already leaving.
Yep, that's just what they do. A little bit of a rotation out. One of the things I found interesting is a couple of teams were talking about the things that paid off big for them on the Sanhok games.
Yeah.
Were using vehicles on this first rotation. A lot of teams are very hesitant on it. You can see Tempo Storm just tearing through. A couple of shots are going to be coming out. I'm actually going to lose one off of it. It's like I predicted his death. I'm sorry about that, Tempo Storm, but there's a lot of risk that comes into using these rotations with vehicles, as you can see. So there's that, again, that whole thing with Battle Royale, the risk-reward strategy that you have to constantly be thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, the expectation on Sanhok is that vehicles were a no-go for basically everyone because exactly what happened here, but there are some times that you still need the circle. With Tempo Storm, with the circle going northeast like this, it actually makes perfect sense why they use vehicles, and losing Sharky in the early game, I mean, that's
and a big change from Tempo Storm. These guys move late on the other 2 maps. On this one, they're moving real early.
You cannot move late at all. You can move, Tempo Storm can move late on Erangel and Miramar because you're able to actually, you have sight lines even when you're on the edge. On Sanhok, those sight lines are rare to come by, and so if you're coming in on the edge and it shifts away from you once again, you're pushing into a trap.
So Tempo Storm lost 1 member, but they're in the middle of the circle. You got Envy as neighbors, so nothing too crazy. I almost feel that's not the worst situation. Only lose 1 member to end up in this spot. Naturally, it's going to depend on how the later circles come through, but they're going to go out and do a little bit of exploring, see what's going on in the neighborhood, have a couple of shots coming their way from Pat Caps, but going to continue to look around for this. This is very interesting.
Mr. Rogers' neighborhood has changed. A
lot more violent than it used to be.
A lot more violent.
A lot of changes since the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, Sanhok used to be this beautiful paradise resort where everybody would go on vacation. Now, it's got some pretty high crime values, I'd say.
Yeah, it's all the taxes, man.
This is
It's the economic policy.
Let's not go down that path. We're not even going to talk about economic policies. And
this is a hypothetical, fictional situation.
How dare us talk about politics
you
of an imaginary
that Sanhok
island?
is not an actual country, right, Matt?
Look, I live and breathe PUBG.
Fair. That's what I like about
can't
you.
make the separation out. It's all real to me at this point. But Sonic's making the rotation in a very dangerous way right now. We just saw what happened whenever somebody gets spun out in a vehicle, but Sonic's no fear. They just blaze their path right up next to where Envy is going to be at, as well as Space Station Gaming. But interestingly enough, they're playing right along the roads and in the dips and are going to get away with it.
I mean, so the reason why vehicles aren't necessarily as dangerous as other people have assumed they'd be is because the exact same terrain that allows you to hide so easily on this map compared to Erangel and Miramar lead to similar situations when rotating in vehicles. If you know your path and you're relatively aware that it's free, it's difficult for a team who's not just like proning next to the road to actually get a sightline onto you in the early game. It's going to get different later on, which is why I like that Tempo Storm and Sonics, even though we did see a casualty because of it, make this move in the early game to get center instead of having to push in off the side.
It all comes down to just realizing, okay, what is the value we get out of any decision inside of a battle royale? Whenever we decide to do this, you always have to assume, okay, this is going to go sideways, this could go bad. And if it does, what do we lose out of it versus what we gain? Right now, Sonic's trying to gain a little bit more territory, a little bit more control, and that's going to put them over next to Space Station Gaming. Space Station Gaming is kind of running a little bit of a split right now, separated out. They've got control over a good section of the circle, but nobody's really around.
Don't look at the map. Who's the one on the split?
Oh, I'm going to assume Valiate and... Yeah, I was going to...
No, it's just Valiate, yeah. Valiate and? There was never an and.
And Jay Sank, he's separated out.
He's separated, yeah, but those three guys are pretty close together.
Don't judge the way Valiate does things.
I'm not. I actually appreciate it. I appreciate it. I think it leads to some good plays sometimes. Sure, it's risky being by yourself, but when you're coming into a circle from this loot position like they are right now, it's an easy risk to make, especially because they see that crate off in the distance. But Genesis, they're moving out as well. They're getting close to Paradise Resort. I am surprised at how quiet this game has been so far. We've only seen 2 deaths, 1 on player 1, 1 on Tempo Storm, but where is circle number 2 going to lead us?
We're on the main island. It's been quiet and relaxing, as have been the games today. This is a very chill day of competitive PUBG esports. So
it's relaxing.
Very calm.
Can we get some like nice breezy ocean sounds in the back?
I mean, it's what? Wildcard, who was not inside the last circle, is the only one that's not inside of this one.
Lazarus isn't inside either. They don't need to push for themselves. So yeah, it's a hard shift towards the south, but it's essentially a neutral shift.
Space Station Gaming and Sonics finally do get in range of each other. It's going to be J-Sync that goes down. Tony V has a nice beat back over towards that. A little bit of damage going out towards Baja. He drops down to his belly to get a little bit more space, get a little bit of cover there. Now it's going to be Sonics trying to figure out what are they going to do. You don't really want to make this push, especially when you're towards this part of the circle. You take the shots, it's going to draw aggro.
They are not leaving those buildings. It's good damage on the SSG, but with the tree cover and the hill cover there, SSG were able to get the revive and pull away, but it's another trade elsewhere on the map, Southwest, Genesis and Riot Squad.
Down on both sides, and E United hears this. Looks like they might want to participate as well. K-Mine's taking a little bit of damage. Mystery's just doing a window kick. Back and forth. Mystery managed to hold it up. Protege takes a little bit of damage from Profi. Profi's right in the middle of everyone, trying to figure out which window is going to be coming through. Protege's on the outside of this. You can see H-Win is down. Nerf's trying to get the res off on this. VZ's down as well. Lata's got an angle for this, but not going to be able to get a lot out of it. So Profi's still waiting to see how Mystery's going to do. Lata's just trying to get something out of that smoke spray, but all time this is going on. Look, E United wants this. This is points, and this is confidence coming out from E United. These guys know they're at the top, and they want this.
Oh, and actually Genesis gets eliminated. Profi tried to get inside that shack, and it's not going to work out. But E United, are they going to continue to put the pressure onto Riot Squad? They may not realize that VZ is getting revived just to their south, and they could easily split open Riot Squad. They're just going to hold the high ground for now, and you can see the tree cover working out in Riot Squad's favor, but Protege sends out a couple of shots.
Get a little bit more control. VZ does get rezzed. Back to 4 members. You can see Riot Squad sitting at. These guys love to fight in the early game. E United realizing, hey, okay, there might be a little bit too much risk charging down this hillside now that they know where we're at.
It's not just that. They don't have the cover to push onto this, but they just third-party a fight. They know how easy it is for that to happen, so they don't want to get third-party to themselves. They send a couple of shots, they got a couple of kills, and then they back off.
The Riot Squad firmly regrouping, still sending out those shots to force everybody away from E United. I like the control and I want to say awareness of what's going on with E United. They are on foot. They're moving around. They're on the hunt, though. They feel like they're the only team on the map that is actively just trying to hunt down people at this stage.
And this feels kind of like a throwback to old school E United that we fell in love with on preseason, just on the hunt. It didn't work out for them in phase 1 and phase 2, but now that they have the stability with this new roster and the shot calling behind them, they're able to kind of bring more of that element back into their play.
Wouldn't be Sanhok without a little bit of third party. As you can see, Lazarus was looking back down towards Sonics, but Endemic takes a couple of shots towards Purdy, so he's just going to go ahead and go for a reposition, but Sonics are also going to move a little bit further away from Lazarus, give them a touch of space, but that just puts them closer and closer towards Envy.
Healing up right now, Tony V. Sonics don't have any kills. We saw them put a little pressure onto SSG, and Lazarus just to the north, they weren't able to keep out, again, just because of the tree cover, just because of the rock cover, and all the cover on this map. But it's going to start to get a little louder. The circle's about to close. We got maybe 5 seconds left before circle number 3.
Can we talk about the value of Pat Camps and the building that he's at with those walls around it? Anytime you're on Sanhok and you have one of the buildings with walls, especially those little dips, you get so much control. Not a lot of movement going to have to happen inside the circle as well. Endemic's going to have to leave Paradise Resort. Really, Player One Esports, Lazarus going to have to move. Poor Lazarus. They're really like the only team that keeps having to move, but I guess that's what happens when you play Edge.
I mean,
they're not really on Edge either. They're like, they're like a kilometer inside the circle and still just like, oh my God, again.
I'm looking at Zenith right now. They're obviously in the center of the circle, but I like how they're collapsing all in together. Back onto Envy. They're on the edge. They should know that there's at least one team, the Sonics, up to their north. They may also know about Lazarus.
Look at Moody. He's just kind of posted out. He's almost like a listener. He's just wanting to hear if anybody's moving around him, reveal that information back over to the team, and a great point to capitalize off of.
Yeah, he's done that previously. He's always led the flank position. He's not as egregious with it as Valiate is, but he does give that information away. We saw that on the last map on Mirabar, but Player One versus Rumblers, they're getting into a little bit of a tussle here in Camp Bravo. This is a risky play for Player One to push through a camp like this.
I don't know if Lampalot knows what's going on. You can tell everybody on Rumblers is like, yeah, just go ahead and walk forward. Player One Esports seems to feel something is wrong, but Lampalot's just going to get instantly dropped off that. Nice, patient play coming out from the Rumblers right on the edge of the circle. Player One Esports, how are they going to react off this? Little bit of a reposition coming out from Rumblers, but it's going to be D-Treats going to try to figure out, okay, what is going on as Sonics now also opting to push back over towards where Envy's at. Moody's going to pop up and take those shots back over towards Wooly, get an easy down off of it, but has to be very careful about grenades. Tony V's going to go down as well. Look at this. Moody in that position is coming up big with a little bit of support from Pride.
And Interrogate as well on the roof of his own building. Moody does go down. But still, that position, it's a risky position to hold the Deer Tower. Let's make it a party, though.
Let's add in Lazarus now making the push over there as well.
Yeah, they heard the shots, and they're going to push through. They need to get into the circle as well, and they have a nice surround on these boys. Sonic's wounded. Envy a little wounded as well. Padcaps, if he goes down, this could be big for Lazarus.
Lazarus got the angle, taking a couple of shots back over towards it. Purdy does not get the down. Envy narrowly escapes. But look at Pride up on top of that building. I don't know if Lazarus is expecting at this point. Endemic also wanting to come and join the party as Sonics has had to fully separate out and away from each other. Oh, actually, it's just Tickleton that's up. It's Tempo Storm that's back to the south of this.
Let's just mention the fact that that was a risky push by Sonics anyway. They only sent 2 of their players out, and that got punished heavily. Tickleton is able to get 1 kill for himself. The star player on Sonics, can he get any more with this rampaging Endemic?
We got Tickleton right now. That's kind of the dividing line, slowing down Endemic, providing a little bit of a buffer for Envy right now as Lazarus is still separating out around them. We know that Lazarus can push a building complex on other maps, but we haven't seen that same methodical building push in quite a while. Can they execute it on Sanhok?
There's no reason to commit to this building push right now, though. They are inside the circle and it is about to finish closing. They don't want to commit to a fight when they might have to move on the next circle as well. So Uncivil, he's in a shack, just hanging out. Doesn't want to commit into anything just yet. Let's see what the next circle goes.
Wildcard also right back behind Endemic. They're playing around one of the walled complexes. New circle does pop. Tempo Storm is going to be in it. Where we've been seeing a lot of the action at, it's going to have a little bit of a wall still in play. Wildcard taking those shots back over towards Endemic. It's going to be something that goes down inside of that.
Wildcard are really good at finding opportunities to set traps and wait for rotations, and they're doing that onto Endemic. Endemic, if Wildcard weren't there, would easily be able to rotate counterclockwise to get into the circle, but Wildcard holding the line in the way. Lazarus, though, they're having to push the same way. It's not going to be as easy for them. They got to push through Envy.
Nice shots coming out from Terragate, getting it down onto Purdy Curdy. Luke's playing the background position off this. Ayla was trying to go for a flank off the side of it. Here's the shots coming out from the Sonics. Looks like he wanted to move into a place to try to get something out of that. Rez could come back from Purdy, but Tero's angle is just so strong. Alo is getting caught up into a fight with Tickleton, so can't find the angle. He was trying to go for a position back behind Tero, so Tero finally has to retreat back away from this.
Now that he took out Tickleton, though, he opened the can onto this engagement. He's wrapped around. He needs to stay safe, though, because he's by himself. Pretty Curdy's getting revived on the other side, but shots coming in. Interrogate may have an angle from the rooftop.
He drew a lot of attention. That was his goal. He did go down for it, but they did get the res onto Purdy. It's just a back and forth exchange between players right now, as I think Alo's just going to get easily flushed. Did it buy enough time? Tero's going to go for the push on the other side of this, go on the angle, and now a second member of Envy is on the rooftops. They are aware this is strong based off of Lazarus's position, and now Lazarus just has to run out in the blue.
They lost their opportunity. Alo didn't do enough. The revive stalled them out a lot, and they're getting a couple of kills on a player one, but we already saw the blue pushing in onto them, and they still have to push over a road to get into the circle. Over here, though, we're looking at Ghost in a debacle with the Rumblers, with low key.
Let's just have a big party off to this side. Chubba Bubba being very patient, looking over towards Cherry Poppins. Spray is going to come through. Cherry Poppins going to try to jump to get away from it. Goes for the spin back around. Not going to come out for it, so the Rumblers do get eliminated in 14th place. But those shots reveal position from them, and now Ghost is trying to capitalize on it.
Yeah, but Space Station, they're way off in the distance. That's low key that I'm looking at. A nade's going to come out, but it's not going to be good enough.
Ghost it slows down low key though. Now they got a couple of members in the blue. Well, Chubba Bubba in the blue right now, trying to figure out what he wants to do. Ghost is trying to cut around in front of them, knowing the fact they can get the inside path on it. Lazarus is just getting destroyed outside on this as a little bit of a position kind of comes back onto him, but Taylor J is finding himself into a little bit of a skirmish with Vanquish as well. Thatcher's up on the top of it, and E United goes down in 12th place.
Two big dogs already taken out of the fight so early, and by Vanquish no less. But Zenith are going to be pushing onto this. Walt Jr. is already at the ready, waiting for the revive and waiting for the push, because Vanquish, with the fight E United, are still not comfortably in the blue. Actually, Reno's going to get bled out. There's no revive coming in onto him.
Tetcher's the last man up for his team playing around this, and he's going to go down. Vanquish is now eliminated. Ghost in a little bit of trouble going back and forth with Loki, but they also have Space Station Gaming right on the other side of this. Everybody's outside in the blue, and it's just going to destroy everyone. Now Pax, the last survivor, hanging out here, is going to have to run forward and pray that Space Station Gaming does not see him.
That was a risky move by Low Key. They pushed into the blue to get that flank onto Ghost, but they're going to be taking a lot of damage and likely be out of it immediately after.
Envy now making the push down towards Tempo Storm, who hasn't necessarily had to fight a lot yet, hence no kills on this, but Envy trying to figure out, okay, how do we make this push across? They're going to need to make their way right up next to Tempo Storm if they choose to walk along this path. Based off the way smokes are coming out, you can see Maluk already going for the position, waiting at the window. Can go for a little bit of a spray, a couple of shots not going to go out. Envy going to be aware something is going on next to them, but let's not forget about Endemic's Wolf back behind Envy.
Yeah, I think Wolf has a lot more things to worry about, though, such as wildcard and getting into the circle, but he could play a factor in a couple of moments. Envy, they're waiting for an opportunity to push in. They know there's a team here, throwing out a couple of grenades.
Envy is moving very aggressively right now. You can see the wide peaks as they're going around the outside of these buildings. Instead of just peeking around the really corner of it, they're taking a couple of extra steps out, trying to get a little bit more space, see where those predicted shots were going to go from. But smokes are now out. Shots are going to come back from Tempo Storm, but there's going to be a return back over towards it. Envy still needs to make their way forward, and they haven't got the down they so desperately need. They've got Molotovs. Now they're just going to have to make the run, and look, Maluk is just waiting for them.
They didn't have the smokes. They were able to throw one to try and limit the vision from Zampa, but they didn't get it down onto any member of Tempo Storm, and we see what happens when that's the case. Pride gets down where the rest of Envy, they can't cross over, and Zampa, he's got a nice flank to continue to put the pressure onto Envy.
He's seeing where they expect to move to. Zampa gets the spray, doesn't get it down onto it, but Sharpshot does follow up. Pat's in a world of hurt right on the edge of blue, taking it, and he's going to go down. Envy gets eliminated. Solid hold coming out there, but it's going to be a little bit of Space Station Gaming joining the party, going to get the down onto Zampa.
Yeah, well, player one, D-Treats, is making it difficult for Space Station because J-Sang just went down, but they still have a nice high ground position over it. They can easily flush out the... Oh, never mind. D-Treats is already taken out by Roth. But still, they can put their focus onto Tempo Storm right now. They have priority on getting into the circle, and they have the high ground over them.
It's a problem whenever you end up with these long skirmishes. Wolf does manage to sneak in right over here next to Tempo Storm. Wildcard taking a couple of shots back over towards Tempo Storm. Going to slow them down. Nice hit coming up from Pistola Times. Going to take down Sharpshot. Tempo Storm now finding themselves in the exact same position that they were holding Envy out on. Wolf is just kind of watching this all and being like, yeah, just keep on clearing a path for me. Maluk, the last guy for Tempo Storm right now. You can see Space Station Gaming pushing down. They don't want to aggress to the building, but they're trying to see if maybe they can find an angle, get a free kill off of it. But Now it's going to be a little bit of wildcard taking shots
The
out.
reason why Space Station are holding in this position right now is because when they get into the circle, they're going to have to take the low ground. And we saw what happened to Ghost when they lost the low ground to get into the circle to low key. So they want to finish off Tempo Storm before they push down to a relatively weaker position.
What you got, Wolf? You got a couple of people in front of you. Grenades are dropping, right? See if he can get any shots off, but no, he's just going to go down to the blue. A little bit of a skirmish still happening off the side of this. Tempo Storm's sharp shot, now the last member up and moving. Trying to bounce from tree to tree, see what's going on. He still needs to make his way forward. Well, actually, it's going to get some assistance off of this from VZ. Riot Squad still up. And look at Sharp Shot running back over on his angle. Gets another down onto it. He's finding the opening and at least getting an extra point before going down. Wildcard loses 2 holding that location.
And they only have 2 kills. This is not a super successful round 4 wildcard. Let's see, though. Adam and Kickstart could easily make something of it. They have finally free space around them to get into this circle.
Zenith, last team with 4 members up. It's going to be Wildcard with 2. Then Space Station Gaming's Valiate and VZ that's still outside in the blue. Probably just going to die out there. Actually, no, he's going to go ahead and make
He's inside, but barely. He's actually taking some shots.
We got Zenith holding the angle right now, trying to figure out, okay, exactly what's going on. I don't know if they have the information to know that this isn't a 4-man that they're going against. So they're trying to figure out, okay, how's the lay of the land right now? You can hear a couple of shots going between the 2 different teams now. So aware, okay, this is something we can capitalize off of.
Valiate, he's actually going quite loud for a solo player. He's trying to keep a pressure onto anyone. He doesn't want to let any team gain full control just yet because in Sanhok, there's a lot more opportunities as a solo to make something work, and so he wants to be able to set the groundwork for that possibility to happen later on in the game. Zenith, though, 4 up, and they have a widespread control. There's not a lot of cover, and actually, Kickstart and Adam going to drop 2 players. The 2 remaining players of Wildcard are going to try and make this work.
So Zenith holding the angles right now. Adam's trying to figure out how to make a push back over towards it. VZ's off to one side. Wildcard might see an opportunity here in a second, but with the split that Zenith is holding, it's going to be so hard to take down the entirety of the team. Really, VZ has the greatest opportunity to do the most damage. Kendo goes down from some nice shots from Kickstart. Zenith slowly starting to lose more and more off of this. Can VZ get a nice angle?
But in the meantime, Walt Jr. and Roth are taking control of the last compound in the circle. So this could make it really difficult. I say that, Adam just gonna remove Roth from the server before they get that opportunity. Walt Jr. finds his way inside, and this crossfire from Zenith could be a lot, and VZ comes loud as well.
Goes for shots onto Wildcard, though, so Petroleum looks back over, gets the shots onto this, and with 7 kills, it's gonna be Zenith Esports that takes the round.
That was an interesting rock, paper, scissors at the end. I honestly didn't know who was gonna come out on top. VZ did a lot more